Hello everyone, I'm LadyLazyPup and welcome back to another speed build here on my channel. Today's video, it's kind of like an official kickoff of a bit of a Sims for Entrepreneur mini-series I'm thinking about doing. I think it'd be kind of fun, where we're going to follow three wildly different Sims as they dive headfirst into the world of small business. We've been wanting to build a ton of businesses, so I think this would be a fun way to do it. We've got a dreamer, a schemer, and one that just wants simoleons and is kind of are neutral, you know, and a little bit of an in-between. But before they open up shop, I was like, they need somewhere to live, so I decided to build 3 tiny homes, one for each of them, that I thought would kind of like show off their personality, and then also, you know, help us in the long run gaining skills and having cheaper bills and all of that kind of stuff. First up, we have Piper Day, the dreamer of our trio. She has this kind of adorable boho cottage type house, very bright and vibrant, a lot of florals. It's really cute. It's kind of an adorable little place for her. I picture Piper being kind of like whimsical and a bit of a daydreamer. Obviously, with the dreamer part of this, it makes kind of like a lot of sense, right? Maybe she enjoys a good cup of tea, and she has like a bunch of plants, and she just kind of like judges places based on their vibes. That's kind of what I'm going for with Piper. And her house is almost kind of a cottagecore Pinterest board kind of vibe. That's kind of what I was going for. Bringing that to life for our Piper Day. We have lots of yellows, which I kind of felt like were her kind of tone. I loved having like that scalloped orange roofing for it, and I loved actually getting to use the door with little flowers on it. It's so cute. It has that just perfect look for what I was going for. On the inside, of course, all of these are tiny homes, but we do end up getting a bathroom, a bedroom, and even nice living space that's going to be open. So we have light woods, kind of like just that warm light wood tone that we have going on. And for her, I really liked getting to use all the different patterns that came with the businesses and hobbies pack. So we have like, you know, all of these floral wallpapers, just very boom right there in your face on the walls. And then I used other textures to bring other colors from that same wallpaper out, like the green brick and then like the blue with the paint tones, because I thought that would be really nice, and it kind of like brings all those colors together. And since this is a tiny house, I was actually trying to be a little strategic with what I was using. So of course we ended up using some of the tiny living objects that would make it a little easier to, you know, cram everything into this tiny 3x2 room. It all ends up working though, and then coming together and looking really cute. And all 3 of these builds are very unique, I think. I thought I did a good job of making them pretty unique and work with the personality of each one of our Sims that we're going to be working with. So that's kind of like the fun part of this here is that I got to be a little creative with each one of our tiny homes. But I was trying to use quite a bit of the businesses and hobbies packs items. So I kind of, you know, used some of the stuff that I thought would work and then had to be a little bit more creative. And use some other packs that also matched that same feel and that same personality. So it works really good here. Always have to have a money trash can. I feel like that's actually just really easy and handy to have for each one of our Sims here. I wanted to also, you know, kind of separate the areas out and make it look like, you know, a real home. So having just that little archway there, I felt like just kind of separated and made like a little hallway to have the bathroom and the bedroom in. And so when you have like Sims over, you have like other people over, then it kind of feels like, oh, they're not just like in your space or in your area that you don't want them to go into. I loved this green on these cabinets here. I thought those were kind of like perfect for this space. It matched well with the brick, and it looks really nice. I'm so glad they added those. It was kind of perfect. But obviously we're going with a lot of like the pastels, and just pops of color everywhere. So we have pinks, we have blues, we have greens. I just went nuts with it, and of course, a lot of the yellow as well. Here is where I was actually trying to get a desk to work over in this corner. I was even like, oh, I wonder if I could get something that's not technically a desk and get it to work out. Yeah, that wasn't working. It was becoming such a pain, so I ended up just shifting over our archway and putting the computer in the corner here, which I think worked out really nicely in the end. You know, it just has a nice space all on its own. We even put a little picture in there, which is really cute. And then over in the other corner, that's where we have the dining table at. So it kind of gives each little area, you know, a purpose and a section on its own, which is really good. This is when I actually did put the windows in. I didn't forget, all right? If you were paying attention, I did not forget. It's just that it was easier to put all the objects in and then figure out, oh, okay, where does a window fit in this room where we could actually get some natural light going? And I think that was a really good way of going about it so that I didn't just clutter it up or go, oh, this isn't going to work with where that window is. And then I have to start moving stuff around a lot more. Now we go back outside where we wanted to make sure we had like a little outdoor space where we could feel kind of cozy, you know, kind of have it like it's really inviting and other people can come relax and enjoy it with us. Because I feel like Piper is that kind of a person where she's just be like outside sitting there reading a book and then be like, hey neighbor, you want to come join me? I'll make some tea. I feel like that's totally up her alley. So I have a nice little table out here and we get some grilling equipment, all of that, which, you know, just lets us kind of enjoy nature and get back to it and just kind of relax and be ourselves. But I really liked this blue striped one with the yellow seating. So obviously we're just kind of clashing a lot of different colors together just so that it feels really bright and open and just really nice. I did try a white picket fence. I thought that'd be kind of perfect for her, but yeah, that wasn't going to work for us just because of how everything is laid out. And I didn't want to spend way too much money on all of these places. So now, next up, we have Joseph Schmo, our Simoleon guy, the guy who's kind of just in it for the money, not really feeling like schemy, doesn't feel like he's much of a dreamer, but he is ambitious. I would give him that, right? Because he has a lot of that business sense going on. But he's mainly about that hustle. I'm going to just put it that way. I think that works for him. Now, for his house, it's definitely different from Piper's. He has more of this modern vibe going on, a bit more sleek and stylish in that sort of sense. No crazy bold prints everywhere, nothing super in your face. It's a bit more minimalist, and I like the way it turns out. It has definitely that sleek look to it, right? A lot of sharp angles and features that way. So you can see we actually have this massive fence on the one side so that he actually has like a nice open like a yard area that he can work there. We have a lot of different textures going on. We have these little panels for one side, and then we kind of went with this I guess not like stucco, but just like a nice like paint on the other side just to give it that nice look and contrast for one side to the other. It's kind of like he's going way more for function over, you know, the pretty design and feel. It is still a really nice design, don't get me wrong. I put it together. It's really looks really nice. But I feel like it's a little bit more practical. It just kind of like works with how everything fits together and there's nothing too fancy either which way. He knows he doesn't need to have this like big extravagant place to get what he wants in the world. He's like, nah, I don't need all the extravagance. I don't need all the fancy stuff going on. I know what the hustle I want to be, right? I'm going to have my little businesses that I'm going to run. And this is going to give me my perks, right? I want the practicality. I want something that's going to work for me. And I want something that's going to give me all those perks to make it easier. I feel like it just makes a lot of sense the way that it all comes together, right? Now on the inside here, we obviously have a very different layout going on. I actually split this room with more of a half wall technique with where we put the TV and everything. So we have the kitchen on the one wall, and then on the other side we kind of like break it up where right here where you walk into is the living space. And I like the way that everything kind of shapes out and tucks into all of the little corners. It works really nicely here. So we have a lot of blacks and whites, and we do have like deeper, like darker brown colors that work really well together. I thought I like the way that it kind of gives that almost industrial look to it. Not too industrial, but just enough. So lots of navy blues going. And we have that brick as well in here that we used both in the kitchen and in the bathroom, which works out really nicely. I also like that we use the hexagons in the bathroom. I kind of want that tiling myself. One of these days, maybe I'll have hexagon tiles somewhere in my house. Joseph kind of comes across as like this everyday man. I know with his last name Schmo, you might think he's, not very intelligent. I kind of think of him as being intelligent. He's kind of a numbers guy. So that's kind of what I was going with here, is in my head, he's just kind of this more calculating numbers guy who wants to make sure that everything that he wants to do is going to work the way he expects it to. He's like, oh no, if I do something over here, this is what's going to happen over there. He's that strategist. That's what he's going for. But we have a nice second door that goes out to a little side garden area where we have, again, another grill. I always like to give my Sims a couple different places where they could eat out and sit outside, especially if they're going to live somewhere where, like, they can, and it's, like, nice out a lot of the time. I feel like that's always a good thing to do. I was also using those windows that came with one of the base game updates. I love these. I feel like they come in handy really well. They kind of match different aesthetics and different architecture, and I think that works really, really well with how that they're shaped. The colors actually work well too, because I feel like they gave us quite a few colors to use them in. So I'm glad. I'm very happy. We have a nice practical bathroom, no tubs, just a shower, a toilet, and a small sink from, again, I'm using that Tiny Livy stuff because it does work. Not everything is in that pack. For some reason, there's a couple really giant objects, but, for the most part, a lot of it's more compact, and I feel like that's very helpful in this. He ended up with a bigger bedroom, too, which was really nice. But I tried to make sure that everybody had all of the necessary things that you're going to need as a sim, aspiring sim opening businesses all across the land. Yeah, expect a lot. There's going to be a lot of businesses. It's going to be great. Because my plan is that we're going to have a business, we're going to run it, we're going to sell it, we're going to open a new business. It's going to be great. It's going to be a good time. But I wanted to make sure that they had enough space to get any of those skill building items that are going to work with those business too. Because sometimes you need to have skills to have a business. If you're going to have classes, or if you're going to have like some sort of object that you have to make and then sell, things of that nature, I think would be useful. Or if you're just going to have that charisma and talking skills, that social aspect of it. Also a good, need to have this tiny home that gives us a little bit of a boost and little areas for us to actually do some skill building. I like it. Very simple. I did get to have some fun with the plants in this one because I was just like, oh, we're gonna have a couple of trees so it matches the world, right? But then I was just like, oh, maybe he'd have one of those fun trees with like the balls that's like, a topiary that was like cut a specific way. I'm like, oh, that kind of works with this space. I don't know why, but I felt it was perfect. So now finally we come to our third and final sim, who is Missy Behaven, the schemer. I could just imagine that she enjoys a bit of chaos and shenanigans, and it could be kind of a bit of a menace to this neighborhood, but I think it's fine. You know, you got a big personality, a little, maybe zero patience, and you're not really respectful of the rules, which, that's fine. I could see that. But I needed a house that was going to reflect this loud, bold personality of Missy. So what we ended up with is almost a container-esque home. It's not quite a full container, but it has that like shiny, sleek metal on the outside. It is more boxy-like. It doesn't have like a roofing. It's just a flat roof, which I think works really well in the scheme of things, right? So we wanted to make sure that she also had a little space that's a little bit more fun, a little bit more her, and we ended up putting in a basement. I feel like as a schemer, she needs to have that little hideaway hidden space that she can run to, or she can have her little scheming items in. So we have a little basement area for her. So it's still a tiny house, but it does have a basement, which is kind of cool. We made sure to keep the tones a bit dark, we wanted to have some purples and yellows. Again, I wasn't really thinking about this, but was like, oh, I kind of like that yellow that came with the pack apparently, so my schemer also has some of those yellows too, but a bit more of, instead of whites and yellows, this is going to be those dark colors like the blacks and yellows, which I think is really fun to have our schemer and our dreamer kind of like opposites in that way, at least with their style, right? I love that. So here we have some fun spiral black flooring, which I thought was really cool. We have a lot of like blacks on the walls. We have some more moody tones going. She also likes the florals, but with the black background. I thought that works really well. That's what I'm going for, is that the opposites type of deal. And I liked that we went with like a dark green on the walls in the main area, because instead of just it being black, it has that like nice bold color that I thought really brought that green out in the wallpaper as well. Because we had the basement though, the house does end up looking a little bit smaller than the others. At least here, right? We don't have quite as much space on the main floor. So we have just a little 3x1 bathroom, which perfect. I love it. I use it all the time. It works really nicely, especially in these situations. We have the bedroom, which is just the bed and a dresser, and that's how you get down into the basement. In our main space, we have a small kitchen, and a part of the kitchen, we just have a couch where you can have a little TV that's hung on the wall. I thought that was kind of perfect. It was a really good way of making sure everything is still fitting in together. She, unfortunately, is the only one who doesn't really have a dining space, which I think is fine. I don't think you necessarily need a dining space. She's just going to sit on the couch, watch some TV, eat her food, or maybe go downstairs and work on her computer and, do something a bit more schemer-like, oh, I don't know, harvesting Simo coin while she hacks into a government facility. I don't know, something like that. That's kind of what I expect from Missy. She's a really fun character in my head. I kind of love how she just is going to be a bit of a chaotic goblin, gremlin kind of a character. This is what I'm envisioning. So hopefully we can really get her personality to shine. And you guys are going to have to tell me, going through all three of our characters, who at this moment is your favorite? Is it Piper Day, our dreamer? Is it Joe Schmo, our Simoleon man? I don't know what to call him. He's kind of our neutral dude. Our everyday neutral dude going for the Simoleons. Or Missy Behaven, our schemer. That's what I want to know right now. Put it in the comments. Who's your favorite? And then while we go through and figure out all the different businesses that they're going to open and run and see how, they evolve in the world, we'll see who's the favorite going forward. I think that's kind of cool. So now, just to add even more pops of bold personality on the outside of the house, we put a bunch of like artwork. I love these. They're so fun. It definitely adds a huge pop of personality and color and interest to just this little square home, right? And we always need something like that. You need that bold, beautiful personality coming through. And I loved that we had those perfect like purples that we were able to use in different places here. It was great. I'm almost thinking that she's gonna end up getting some other artwork, you know, possibly from a little raccoon friend that we can end up putting on the walls, because I think that would be fun too. If not at a business she ends up opening, maybe in her house she can just have some like really cute art pieces that she, collects. I like that word. That's perfect for her. She, quote unquote, collects. Now, the outside, besides all the really beautiful artwork, like I said, I didn't want to do too much. I didn't end up putting an outdoor dining space either, so we just kind of have like a nice little seating spot outside that's on a little fenced in like front porch area. And I did like using a bit of like a thicker tree too that kind of covers up her house a little bit more. She doesn't want to be like totally seen by the entire neighborhood. And I did have a little fun. I did put like a little rose would you call that? Just like a rose wall in the back? I think that makes sense. So we put a little rose wall in the back with her trash bin, just because I thought she needs some flowers. I feel like she deserves them. She has them on her wall. I don't see why she wouldn't get to have them outside too. Maybe I'll even give her more. Maybe she'll have some plants that she likes to grow. Maybe she likes cow plants. Always a good one, right? I like those. Those are really pretty and cute. And non-deadly at all. So there you have it. We have our finished houses for our lovely entrepreneurs, who are all neighbors, by the way. They all live next door to each other, which I think is really, really fun. And I am going to use them all in the same save, so it's going to be kind of fun for us to jump back and forth and see what the next one is going to be up to. In their little, like, business aspirations. I think it's going to be great. But let's hop into cast now so that we can actually say hi to these Sims and you get to see a little bit more of them before we jump into the Let's Play. But here we have our first Sim, our dreamer, Piper Day. Loves color, adorable. This is her everyday wear. This is her everyday wear. She has a lot of pastels, really cute coloring for her. This is her athletic wear, her sleepwear, party wear, swimwear, hot weather wear, and cold weather wear. She's adorable. I love her. She is our esteemed entrepreneur. She is idealist, creative, and good. So we're going to see what she ends up building. Will her empire of dreaming come to fruition? I guess only time will tell. And hopefully she really does like her home, because I feel like it matches her personality oh so well. Look at all these adorable colors and everything going on. But let's head over next door and see what Joseph Schmo is up to. Joseph Schmo, as you can see, is in the middle of all of our dreaming little crew here, our aspiring entrepreneurs. So there's all three of their homes together. But let's get a closer look at Joseph Schmo. So this is Joseph. He's just kind of that everyday kind of dude. Nothing too fancy that I can say about him. He does want to be a master mentor, which I think is kind of fun, a little bit different. So he's got to have to work on those skills. He's probably going to be teaching some good classes. I like that. But he is definitely self-assured, a bit of a genius, and very ambitious. This is his everyday wear, formal wear, athletic wear, sleepwear, party wear, swimwear, hot weather wear, and cold weather wear. Joseph Schmo, everybody. We'll see what he ends up doing. I'm curious to see how many simoleons he ends up with at the end, right? Because, that's kind of what he's all about. How much money can I make out of these businesses? And of course, last but certainly not least, we enter Missy Behaven's home right here, where she's just, vibing out, enjoying the little living space that she has. But we definitely need to see Missy a little bit closer, don't we? I love her outfit. I think she's absolutely adorable, showing off some tattooed skin here and there, as you can kind of see it poking out. Missy Behaven is a seeker of secrets, a bit of a snob, a minor kleptomaniac, and also a bit shady. Perfect personality traits, I would say. Here's her everyday wear, her formal wear, her athletic wear, her sleepwear, party wear, swimwear, hot weather wear, and cold weather wear. A lot of dark colors, but with like little pops and hints of color here and there, which I thought kind of works so well for her. And for Missy, of course, we're going to be scheming through our businesses, so it's going to be really interesting to see if she gets caught or not, right? I think that's going to be kind of the fun part. Plus, with having them all in the same neighborhood and like being neighbors and having businesses together, it's going to be kind of interesting to see if they ever cross paths, because I kind of expect it to happen. Well, we're going to find out that in the future, but I want you guys to let me know, who do you like the best? Which one's house do you like the best? It could be completely different from the sim itself, right? But I think with all of that, I do need to wrap it up right here. We have 3 tiny houses for 3 entrepreneurs: Piper the Daydreamer, Joseph the Simoleon Savvy, and Missy, the glorious gremlin that she is. They're all going to start off small, but I think it's going to be kind of cool. We're not going to be completely rags to riches where they're just going to start off with 0 simoleons, but they aren't going to start off with much. So it's going to be really cool to see everything grow, their businesses, their skills, and their personalities, and kind of see how they're going to, interact with each other too. But make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you aren't already, and comment down below, what businesses do you think that they should open? If you guys have any other ideas, because I do have a little bit of a list going. I would love to hear your ideas of some really cool businesses that we could build together, open up, and try out, because I think that's going to be the best part of this little series that we're going to do. But as always, I'm going to say keep crafting, keep gaming, stay lazy, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody.